So Boris resigns, and this could be the end, maybe sort of, in the sense that this man is very Trumpy, and already there are a number of people in Britain, quite a large number of people, I'm sure, who think he may be plotting to find a way to stick around and remain in power beyond the point where he says he will exit. You look at the astrology, the timing makes perfect sense, as in around now reaching a crisis point, because his Gemini planets, if you cluster them, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, you get the degrees where Neptune in Pisces is squaring. The station was late in June, and stations and points of crises tend to align in this way, and the theme, Neptune, your lies, your deceptions, your gaslighting, catching up with you, fits really well. I had thought from looking at his Sun Venus late in Gemini that he might last a little longer, and perhaps he will, but this is definitely a major crisis point. If I had to guess, I would say he's probably done and will have to leave, even though he may not want to. It's interesting to notice that in his progressions, when you look at the progressed positions to the natal chart, you see the progressed moon, and keep in mind that the moon in his chart is the ruler of his 10th, his zenith midheaven. Therefore, that is his career, essentially. And that moon is right now exactly squaring the natal Pluto, which is very indicative of this kind of thing where your career takes a massive hit, an ending, a finishing point. And then something that I sometimes will turn to because the coincidence looks quite precise, is that if you look at the progressed chart as a separate chart, as a chart that reflects the evolved personality as the years pass, progressions are the days after birth, and the chart that produces, notice that the transiting Saturn just happens to be in opposition to his progressed Sun up in the 10th of career, and you see Jupiter there as well in a square. So Saturn down at the bottom like that is a classic, the end, end of the matter. It's a very unfavorable position for Saturn to be in relationship to career matters when it's occupying the 4th. Now, the reason I said earlier that I thought he might have lasted a little longer is just looking at his Sun-Venus late Gemini conjunction. Neptune doesn't get to those degrees until next year. And of course, Saturn will be in Pisces by next year as well. And when you look at the natal Saturn in early Pisces, which by the way would be his second Saturn return, another marker of a major chapter ending, but that Saturn in Pisces opposite Uranus square Mars makes it a very demanding, very challenging planet, in the context of the fact that he has created a difficult situation for himself by essentially being a little bit too Trumpy for his own good, which is to say, acting very dishonestly, persistently. And it looks like in the UK, they're a little more willing to act upon this kind of dishonest behavior and force him out of power. I will add that although I think of Boris as more of a populist than really a strongman in the style of people like Trump and Bolsonaro, and definitely someone like Putin, nonetheless, I think it's good that he's being pushed out, because he's still one of those people that emerged in the Trump years and was basically representing that kind of mentality which I think is ultimately unsuitable for good democracy. So as far as I'm concerned, good riddance. However, maybe he'll find a way to extend his reign a little bit longer, as in maybe on the outside until sometime early next year. But I would say that's a very unlikely scenario. My feeling is that even though he may be plotting to find a way to stay, I would think it extremely difficult at this point.